Welcome to Sense and Nonsense A to Z, where we pick topics based off of the letter of the day. Today is episode 10 of season 1, featuring the letter J.
We're family and we're your hosts, AT and Z. So let's get started. It's a jumbo hello today.
Jumbo!
Swahili.
Yes, I actually know that one.
Do you?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Jumbo.
Yeah.
So a couple things going on in the news. Why don't you get started?
I watched the Grammys.
You watched the whole thing?
I missed the first 10 minutes of it.
Yeah, I was watching some other stuff. I was going back and forth and back and forth. I'm actually watching this show on HBO about the Lakers.
Okay.
It's really good. So I was watching that, but I was going back and forth, waiting for the moment that I was waiting for.
Yeah, I was waiting for the moment too. They did the in memoriam and it was okay.
Yeah.
The singing was really nice that they
I was
did.
expecting more.
I was too.
Yeah.
But I was a little let down with what they did.
Me too.
Actually, I was more moved by Billie Eilish wearing a Taylor Hawkins t-shirt than I was with the in memoriam.
I know. Me too.
But I had watched Jimmy Fallon and Jimmy Kimmel did an April Fool's joke, and they switched shows. Fallon went and hosted Jimmy Kimmel Live, and Jimmy Kimmel went and hosted the Tonight Show.
Cool.
Yeah, and they both had the Red Hot Chili Peppers was their musical guest for both of them.
That's
one
great.
was on a rooftop and one was in the studio.
Mm-hmm.
But in both instances, they had the drum skin was Taylor.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was really nice. And they did it twice. It was 2 different skins for each show.
Very
so
cool.
I thought that was really nice. And I really enjoyed seeing the small ways that people are paying tribute to him.
Absolutely.
It makes me feel good. For some reason, it has nothing to do with me, but I really like it for some reason. So that's why I think I was a little bit let down, because they just did the Foo Fighters, like they did My Hero. And so it was like clips of Taylor and them doing My Hero over it.
It was quick too.
It was fast. And I would have preferred, like, if other people had sung My Hero possibly, or, something like that.
Yeah. Considering how many Grammys they have.
And that they were supposed to play this show.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's
and by the way, they won 3 Grammys.
Yeah. In the beginning, they won 3 Grammys and I missed it. So I'm going to have to go back and watch it. But it's like they were Grammy winners that night. Taylor won for a song that night. Yeah. And they did this super quick thing. I didn't like it.
Disappointing.
No. Yeah. They did a good job with Stephen Sondheim.
Yeah.
Doing his songs and everything. That was really good. But I don't know. I thought it was a little bit lacking. That's just my opinion, but
no, mine too.
Okay.
A couple of things in the news I just want to mention. Ford Motor Company is recalling 737,000 vehicles.
What?
Yeah, 2 reasons. An oil separator housing can crack and develop an oil leak that can cause a fire.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And the other thing has to do with trailer hitch, the software on the trailer hitch. 2 major recalls.
Wow.
But the big news over the weekend was the NCAA college basketball tournament.
Yeah, definitely was. Definitely was here. It was bonkers here.
Oh, I can only imagine between Duke and UNC. Forget it.
Yeah. So UNC won, right?
Yes.
It was 81-77.
Correct. It was Coach K's last game.
It was. But here, Chapel Hill, people went crazy.
Yeah, I'm sure.
They flooded out from all the bars. It's a college campus,
Of course,
flooded out from all the bars onto Franklin Street. And there were between 35 and 45,000 people there. And on the 11 o'clock news, there was a whole hour, and it was just them talking about this and us watching just masses and masses of people converge and shoot fireworks and light bonfires. Sure. Even though the fire department's like, please don't do that.
Yeah.
They did it anyway. They were climbing the streetlight posts. I mean, it was a miracle only 10 people got hurt. No serious injuries, but still with that many people, and they were all like shoved together. I could not believe it. It was like, it's an introvert's nightmare, this thing that happened. It was crazy.
Well, Mike Krzyzewski was the head coach for Duke for 42 years. 5 national titles, 13 Final Fours, 15 ACC tournament championships, and 13 ACC season titles. The only person who's done better as far as coaching is concerned in college is John Wooden with UCLA. Mm-hmm. He's had an amazing career.
He has.
This was his final tour.
Yeah.
And unfortunately for him, he lost. But I got to tell you something. I really like UNC.
Yeah.
New Jersey had 3 teams that made the tournament. It was Rutgers, Seton Hall, and a little university out of Jersey City called St. Peter's. Mm-hmm. The head coach was Shaheen Holiday. He actually played for Seton Hall, but he was coaching St. Peter's. He did such a great job. Rutgers lost to Notre Dame in the special round that they were in. It's called the First Four. Then Seton Hall lost to TCU on the first round. But St. Peter's, who was ranked 15 in their bracket. So what happens is that there's 4 brackets, and each bracket has 16 teams. And in their bracket, they were ranked 15. They made it to the final 8. So Shaheen Holiday did such a great job. He got a job with Seton Hall. So he's now the Seton Hall head coach.
That's great.
I think that's wonderful.
Yeah. Well, I thought Coach K was classy because even during his press conference, he didn't want to talk about his retirement. He wanted to talk about the team and how well the guys did.
And they did a great job.
And, getting them through this time, and that he was going to be, kind of stoic for them. And then he would deal with the loss in his own way, in his own time. So I thought that was classy.
Yeah.
He didn't make it about him.
Yeah. Remember a couple episodes ago, I mentioned about free throws?
Yes.
So important. That game showed how important that was. Mm-hmm. If they hit the free throws, it would have been a closer game.
Yeah. Well, it was pretty close as it was.
It was close up until the end.
Yeah.
And then UNC just pulled away. So great game.
Yeah. Before we get into the rest of our episode, I'd just like to take this opportunity to wish Robert Downey Jr. a happy birthday. His birthday was yesterday, April 4th. Happy birthday, Robert. All right, I'm going to do my favorite TV show with the letter J.
Okay.
And that is Justified. Have you ever heard of this show?
Okay, I'm going to be honest. No. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's all right. I didn't think you had, because it's not a comedy or a sports thing or a true story.
Those are my 3. You're right.
So it ran for 6 seasons, 78 episodes, and it originally aired on FX. This was between 2010 and 2015.
6 seasons. I've never heard of it.
Yeah, no.
Where have I been?
I don't know.
I don't either.
The show is about U.S. Marshal Raylan Givens, and he is a marshal that is originally in the Miami office. He gets reassigned because he's involved with a shooting with a very bad man who works for a drug cartel by the name of Tommy Bucks.
Okay. Shouldn't he have been a hero for killing some?
Well, the story is that he told Tommy Bucks that he had 24 hours to leave Miami or he was going to shoot him on sight.
Okay.
And he finds Tommy about 2 minutes before the deadline in a restaurant on top of a hotel. And he tells him, you better get going. Your time's running out.
Yeah.
And Tommy's like, I ain't going. And Raylan's like, you better go or I'm going to shoot you.
I'm a U.S. Marshal. This is what I do, right?
Right. So Tommy's like, it ain't happening. And he pulls his gun on Raylan, and Raylan shoots and kills him. And the whole thing is he's like, the shooting was justified because he pulled on me.
Hence the name, huh?
Hence the name. It was justified. So this whole thing, and it's big news now. It becomes big news. And in order to get some of the heat off of him, because the AUSA is going to interview him and all this other stuff. So in order to get the heat off of him, he's transferred to Kentucky. His chief in Kentucky is a guy named Art, and they taught firearms shooting together at Glencoe, which is like the federal law enforcement training facility.
Okay.
So there's some history there. But Raylan has spent his whole life trying not to go back to Kentucky. And now he's finding himself near his hometown of Harlan, which is a coal mining town. So that's kind of the premise of the show. And Raylan Givens is played by Timothy Oliphant, who was in Deadwood. He was in Live Free or Die Hard, and also the Santa Clarita Diet with Drew Barrymore. Do you know that Timothy Oliphant was considered to play Tony Stark in Iron Man?
No kidding.
Yeah. He would have been good, but it wouldn't have been the same as RDJ.
I can't see that.
No.
I see nobody else playing Iron Man other than RDJ.
No. I agree. The show was based on Elmore Leonard's novella, Fire in the Hole. And that novella introduced Raylan Givens and was the basis of the pilot episode of this series. And Elmore Leonard was an executive producer on this series. That character appeared in his novels Pronto, Riding the Gap, and Raylan, which was his 45th book published in 2012. This guy was no slacker.
Got it.
So Raylan's a modern day 19th century lawman, quick draw, dead shot type. And he wears a Stetson. He's like a cowboy. And when people ask him why he wears it, he just says, I put it on and it fit. He's that kind of a person. He's a gunslinger, and he's very good with the gun. And he's not afraid to kick a hornet's nest. And he says things like, if you make me pull, I'll put you down. That kind of thing. All right.
Sure.
So this thing ran for 6 seasons, and every season has like 2 main baddies that Raylan's trying to put away. And in the first season, it's very much Boyd Crowder. And then it turns into his father, Bo. But in the beginning, Art asks him to get Boyd Crowder. Like, that's his assignment. And everybody wants Raylan to help them with people in Harlan County because they're like hillbillies. And there's a very specific way to interact with them. And most people don't know how to do it. Even people who have been there for like 18 years, the people of Harlan County still see them as outsiders. So it's very important to have ties to Harlan to be able to get anything done there. Boyd and Raylan dug coal together when they were 19 years old, and Boyd saved him from a cave-in when he was 19. So they have this kind of frenemy situation.
Sure.
There's a respect there, yet they're also very contentious. So Raylan winds up shooting Boyd in the chest in the first episode of the series. Boyd is played by a man named Walton Goggins. Do you know who that is?
I do not.
He's been in a bunch of stuff, but originally he didn't want to do the show out of fear of negative one-dimensional stereotyping of Southerners because he's from Georgia.
Okay, sure.
But he did it as a favor to Tim. So he was only supposed to be in the pilot, but he tested so well with audiences that the character survived.
No other choice, right?
Yep.
Yep.
The character survived his gunshot to the chest and became a recurring character. And he went on to be in 74 out of the 78 episodes.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, big deal.
Hey, was Sam Elliott in that?
He was.
I seem to remember something now.
Yes, the last season he was in it with Mary Steenburgen.
Okay.
Yes. All right. So Boyd was a powder man when they dug coal together. And Raylan asserts that all Boyd likes to do is get money and blow stuff up.
Okay.
So Boyd always yells, "Fire in the hole," before blowing something up, hence the Fire in the Hole novella. Okay. And this is how Raylan kind of comes to catch Boyd, because he screams "fire in the hole" before he rocket launches a church. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So Raylan catches Boyd, but through some other reasons, Boyd gets released, and so does his father, Bo Crowder, who is like a big deal hillbilly gangster. All right. And they find themselves in a lot of deep water over things that Boyd has now done to his father, and also that Raylan has done to the Miami cartel that he's kind of escaped from. And all this stuff kind of comes to a head in the first season at the end, and they're pinned down, Raylan and Boyd and a woman named Ava, in a cabin in the woods. And Raylan asks Boyd if he happened to bring his rocket launcher. And Boyd's like, he didn't think to pack one. So they're on the same side. So they have this relationship, where if he's not chasing Boyd, then they're having each other's backs. So it's really like, this is a theme that follows through the 6 seasons of the show. But what I like about this series is the way the characters interact with each other. It's very unique. And Raylan especially has this quiet, straight shooter kind of way about him. So he grew up in Harlan County. His father was a career criminal, and he's a bit savvier than most marshals and law enforcement because of this history. He often himself wonders, like, is it just in my blood to be a criminal? Because I do have all these tendencies of doing these things outside of the purview of the marshal's office. But he is a lawman, and even his boss says, like, you're a great lawman, but you're a terrible marshal, that kind of thing. So he's got that going on. Okay. And after 6 seasons, Raylan finally gets Boyd the right way at the end, and he winds up in prison. And then he has this standoff with a guy who's like another version of him. Throughout the 6 seasons, Raylan wears that hat, and it's a tan hat. And now he's facing off against a guy with a black hat, and who's almost as good as him right at the end. And they're in the street, and Raylan's at one end, and the other guy's at the other end, Boone's at the other end. And they're like, they're having a drawdown, Right.
The black hat's always the bad guy.
Black hat's always the bad guy, right?
Yep.
So finally they pull and they shoot, and Raylan gets a graze in the side of his head. Okay. His hat has a bullet hole in it now. Okay. And he falls and he kills the other guy. Okay. And he takes his hat. So Timothy Oliphant had that hat made so that he could take it when the show was done.
So he has it to this day.
So he has it to this day.
That's funny. Yeah. That's funny.
And the end is him visiting Boyd in the prison 4 years later to deliver some hard news. And Boyd asks him why he came. He could have relayed the information through his lawyer. And he says that if he allows himself to be sentimental, there's something he always wanders back to. And it's that they dug coal together. And it's very touching in the scene. And, throughout the show, there's lots of things, but it always comes back to that. They save each other more than they probably should because of this thing that bonded them when they were 19 years old. Right. And that's the end of the show. And they end the show with thanks to the people of Harlan, Kentucky for their support and stories, and also to the men and women of the Marshal Service. And they have a little tribute to Elmore Leonard, who died in 2013, with an epitaph of "Take it easy," which you gotta believe is something that he must have said often. So yeah. So this was interesting. And now he's in pre-production for a new unnamed Elmore Leonard adaptation, and he's going to be playing Raylan Givens again. So it should be interesting. Yeah, it's going to be a series again. So
this year,
it just says pre-production, so it could be coming soon. But I'm interested to see where it goes. And then one other thing that I wanted to mention about this show: there's a place called Noble's Holler in a few of the seasons, and this holler was based on a real Harlan County community called Coe Ridge Colony, which was settled and maintained by emancipated slaves following the Civil War. Right. And battered white women from all over the state would go to this holler to flee abusive husbands. And they knew their husbands would not follow them there because they would be too afraid. So it was a refuge. Yeah. Wow. So that was real. That actually occurred. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I got to show you something.
Okay.
This was my dad's, your grandfather.
Oh, wow.
Are you ready? Can you see?
It's Stetson.
It sure is.
That's like the same color as Raylan's hat, but he has a brown leather thing that goes around.
This has a tan ribbon.
Yeah.
Tan ribbon. Yeah. And a little feather. Look at that little feather too.
That's awesome.
This is from 60s, like early 1960s. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, this was my dad's. Isn't that funny?
That's awesome.
Yeah. Actually, we just found it last week. It was in our attic. It was in her attic, yeah. So when you mentioned Stetson, I was like, oh man, I got to show you this.
That's awesome.
Isn't this awesome?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was his.
That's fantastic. I love it.
There you go.
Well, that was my favorite show. Letter J.
I think that's cool that they're kind of bringing it back again.
Yeah, I'm interested to see where it goes, because the last episode, half of it takes place 4 years later when he goes to visit Boyd in prison. That's 4 years later.
Okay.
So I'm interested to see if they pick up with Boyd again, or if it's going to be a completely different thing, because he's back in Miami. He winds up back in Miami. So we'll see.
I got to tell you, if I was in Kentucky, I'd go back to Miami. Thank you.
Yeah. He wanted, I mean, he wanted to go back. He couldn't wait to get out. And at the end, Art says to him, I asked you to get Boyd Crowder, and it took a little longer than I initially thought it would, but you did. So he kind of fulfilled his mission. So I'm wondering if that mission gets blown up again, and he has to go back and get him, or what happens, because he has a kid now and he's like kind of settled in Miami. So it should be interesting.
Okay. Okay. Do you want to do our sense and nonsense?
I do. This is a complete surprise for me. I don't know what it is.
I did not want to give this one away. Okay. So, and I never give away the 10 questions.
No, you never tell me. No.
But this time I didn't give you the category, so you have no clue. Okay. The category for our sense and nonsense game is jalapeno peppers.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Okay. So you ready for the first question?
Sure.
Sense or nonsense? Both the chipotle and the jalapeno peppers come from the same plant.
Yes, sense.
You're correct. Chipotle peppers are really just red ripened jalapenos that have been smoke dried.
Aha.
So they're the same thing.
Awesome.
Alrighty. Yeah. Okay. Second question, sense or nonsense? The Aztecs dried and smoked jalapeno peppers as an alternative to tobacco.
I hope not. I hope that's nonsense.
It is.
Okay.
However, the Aztecs smoked ripened jalapenos as a form of food preservation for consumption.
Okay.
They introduced it to the Spaniards in 1500, and the word chipotle is based off of two Aztec words meaning chile and smoke.
Huh.
And I got that question because when I read up on jalapeno peppers, I'm like, the Aztecs smoked them. I'm like, what are they talking about? They smoked them. And then I'm like, oh, I'm going to ask her that question. That's how I got that one. Okay. So the last sense or nonsense question is, the jalapeno is a fruit. Sense or nonsense?
I think that's sense, because it has seeds inside, right?
The jalapeno are often described as a vegetable form as far as culinary purposes. However, as far as botanical classification, the jalapeno is a fruit. You're correct.
Yes.
3 for 3, not bad, kiddo.
3 for 3 on jalapenos.
Yes, see? And I didn't even give it away. You had no time.
I had no time to think.
Yeah.
Maybe that's better.
See? Okay, I have a couple little facts for you. The jalapeno pepper was originally cultivated in Jalapa, Mexico. So obviously that's where they got jalapeno, is from Jalapa. And it dates back thousands of years. In the US, the commercial peppers are grown in New Mexico, Texas, and California. If the jalapenos are stored at 45 degrees, they keep for 5 weeks.
Oh.
They were the first pepper to travel in space. NASA shuttle Columbia in 1982 took jalapeno peppers because it has a long space life and they don't really smell.
They do once you cut them open.
Yeah, but as far as a whole, right.
Yeah.
Jalapenos are one of the best sources of vitamin C, including iron, magnesium, fiber, vitamin A, and potassium. And if a jalapeno is too hot, drinking water will not help.
No.
They recommend that you drink milk to cool off your mouth. And the last fact is the Guinness World Records for the most jalapenos eaten in 1 minute. I know. I'm making a face too as I'm telling you this. You want to take a guess how many somebody ate in 1 minute as a world record?
30.
16.
16.
Yeah, in 2006.
Yucky.
Yuck. I know. I don't mind them in food or on food or stuffed, but to eat them by themselves.
No, I can't have them because they have sulfur in them.
Oh,
a high concentration of sulfur. Yeah.
Man, oh man. Those are facts.
Well, thank you for that.
Facts are facts. Facts are facts, baby.
That was fun. I'm just happy I got all three right.
Yeah.
I've been doing so
good lately. 1,000 today.
Yay.
Yay. All right. Okay, so here we go. My favorite J artist, Billy Joel.
Yeah.
I love Billy Joel.
Me too.
Always have.
Me too.
He was born William Martin Joel back in 1949. So he's 72 going on 73, about your dad's age. So he was born in New York City. They moved out to Hicksville, Long Island. That's where he grew up. His mom made him take piano lessons starting at the age of 4. When he was a teenager, he actually took up boxing so he can defend himself on Long Island.
Wow.
Yeah, some tough neighborhoods, you know. He successfully boxed in the amateur Golden Glove circuit, won 22 matches, and then quit after his nose got broken. It's like, I'm done. Even though he's an exceptional student, he didn't graduate high school in 1967. He wasn't able to take a crucial exam on English because he was playing the night before to help support his mom and his sister. His mom and his dad divorced when he was 8, so he was helping mom.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Anyway, he had made a mention that at this point, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to Columbia University. I'm trying to get into Columbia Records, and you don't need a diploma to get in there.
Yeah.
You know? But 25 years later, in 1992, he submitted essays to the school board. They actually awarded him his diploma.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that's cool. Yeah. He's got a ton of influences. It goes from classical to blues, you know, and everything in between. He mentioned that his life pretty much changed when he saw the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show.
How about
in 1964. So he was about 14, 15 at that time. I've got to agree with him because I think that show changed a lot of people's lives. I know I was taking piano lessons at that time. And from that point on, I really didn't want to play classical music anymore. I didn't want to play Bach and Beethoven. I was little. Honestly, I just wanted to play rock and roll ever since I saw the Beatles.
Yeah.
That was it for me. All right. So I was looking over his albums, and his first solo album was Cold Spring Harbor. That was back in 1971. And that album has one of my favorite songs from him, She's Got Away.
It's beautiful.
It's a beautiful song to the point that it chokes me up every time. I love that song. Second album, Piano Man.
Oh, gosh. Brilliant album.
Brilliant. 1973. That album has not only the Piano Man, right? The Ballad of Billy the Kid and Captain Jack. That's how far back these tunes go.
And they're still so good.
Oh my God, they're so good. Third album is Street Life Serenade, and that's where he had The Entertainer.
That's a great song too.
Wait till the next album. Turnstiles, 1976, Say Goodbye to Hollywood and New York State of Mind.
I'm getting chills. I'm getting chills right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then came The Stranger.
The Stranger. Oh my God.
Every single song on that album was a hit.
Every single song on that album is amazing.
I always had that A track in my car.
That album cover is one of those weird, iconic album covers too.
Oh, it's a good one.
Yeah. I mean, just the song, The Stranger, talking about all the masks that people wear.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you don't
that's
even
where
know
they got that from. Yeah.
The stranger in yourself. Like, holy crap. Like listening to the lyrics of that song, I'm like, oh my goodness.
Yeah. He's amazing.
Amazing. Yeah.
Yep. Then came 52nd Street. Almost every song is a hit.
52nd Street won Album of the Year.
It did.
Yeah.
Then came Glass Houses, another album that almost every song is a hit.
So good.
Nylon Curtain, that had Allentown Pressure, Goodnight Saigon. Then came Innocent Man, Easy Money, just a ton of hits. The Bridge, Stormfront, River of Dreams, and Fantasies and Delusions, which is a classical composition album. 5 Grammy Awards, nominated 23 times. Song of the Year for Just the Way You Are. Record of the Year, Just the Way You Are. Album of the Year, like you said, 52nd Street. Best Pop Vocal Male Performance, 52nd Street. And Best Pop Male Performance for Glass Houses. He also won 1991 Grammy Legend Award. So technically, I guess he has 6.
Yes, yeah.
Right? He was part of the site committee for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. There were 7 members that had to decide whether it was going to be in San Francisco or in Cleveland. He was the tiebreaker. He obviously voted for Cleveland. He was inducted in 1993 into the Madison Square Garden Walk of Fame. In 1999, he was inducted by Ray Charles into the Hall of Fame.
That's awesome.
And what a class that was. It was Billy Joel, Bruce Springsteen, Paul McCartney, and Dusty Springfield.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good company.
Yeah. Like I said, he was inducted by Ray Charles. He loved Ray Charles.
Yeah.
Did a collaboration, The Baby Grand, with Ray Charles.
That's a great song too.
Yeah. And his daughter Alexa's middle name is Ray, after Ray Charles. He has 7 honorary doctorates from local universities. 2002 Music Cares Person of the Year for his philanthropy. Tony Awards. I mean, it's just a Walk of Fame. It's just amazing. He's had so many awards. I'm not even going to mention them all, but 2016, the Library of Congress selected Piano Man for preservation into the National Recording Registry.
Awesome.
So on a personal note, you know how when you hear some music, it just brings back some memories of life in general. I mean,
Absolutely.
music does that too.
Yeah.
Okay. So I remember when I had one of my first jobs and I gave my notice. And like I said, I had The Stranger as an A-track in my car.
Yeah.
I remember to this day, whenever I hear Moving Out, I think of that moment when I left that company, went into the parking lot, started my car, and Moving Out came on. And I was like, yep, I'm moving out.
Yeah.
My wedding song was Just the Way You Are. And you know, Bosom Buddies.
Yeah.
The theme song was My Life.
Yeah. I like that show, but I really love that song.
Yeah, me too. What's your favorite song? Can you
All right.
think?
So
Can you
my
think of one?
favorite, my favorite song is actually because I have a memory attached to it, like you were saying.
Okay.
And it's Scenes from an Italian Restaurant, because Scenes from an Italian Restaurant is the first song I learned to sing sitting next to you on a piano bench.
Okay.
You used to play it and you had the sheet music for it.
I did.
And we used to sit there and sing that song. And that's where I learned how to sing.
That happens to be my favorite song too.
Yeah. Scenes from an Italian Restaurant to this day.
Now, when you were little and I used to drive you around, one of your favorite songs in my car was It's Still Rock and Roll to Me.
Oh, that's still a favorite.
You used to love that. I used to have a shifter that had a button.
Yes.
That you had to push down
and the
button.
Firebird. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I used to pound it to the music, and then you would take my hand off of it. And you were little. I'm talking about you were 3 years old, and you wanted to hit it. Now I'm like, okay, I would hold the shifter so you didn't shift it down on me. I let you hit the button to the music.
Yeah.
So anyway, little memories.
Yeah.
Right?
I grew up singing these songs. I had a cassette tape of Billy Joel in my Walkman. I used to go in my backyard and listen to Billy Joel, and there was nobody around, and I would just sing Billy Joel songs to myself out in the backyard. I just loved him because it's so much a part of my whole life growing up. Whenever I see him, I'm happy. It's one of those.
Yeah, me too.
He just has that effect.
Me too. I had ranked my favorite albums.
Okay.
My favorite is The Stranger. That's my absolute favorite. My second favorite is 52nd Street. And my third is Glass Houses.
I think I would go in that same order.
Rolling Stone has it a little differently. Rolling Stone has Stranger, Glass Houses, then 52nd Street. So yeah, we're close, right?
Yeah.
We're close.
I mean, if they're all in the top 3 rolling around.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what song that I really liked when I would say probably 11 or 12 years old was Uptown Girl.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That I thought the video was so cool for that.
Yeah,
It was Christy
Christy
Brinkley. And
yeah,
I loved that.
yeah.
Because it was a love story, that
Oh,
song.
yeah,
So
yeah, sweet. Funny thing about The Stranger, when he came up with that song, he whistled it to his producer. You know, the beginning. And he's like, I can't figure out what instrument I want to use for that. He's like, what are you thinking?
Just use the whistle.
just use the whistle. It's perfect.
Exactly.
That's
so
where
haunting.
That came from. Yeah.
It's so haunting, that whistle. Oh my God. Like I'm saying, as I'm thinking of it, I'm getting chills.
Yeah. Let's see. 1986, he sung the Star Spangled Banner for Game 2 of the World Series at Shea Stadium.
Cool.
Mets versus Red Sox, of which, by the way, the Mets won. In 2015, he sang the national anthem for the first World Series in Citi Field for the Mets.
Nice.
However, the Mets lost that.
Oh, bummer.
The Royals, in 2015. Okay, so you know how "Take Me Out to the Ball Game" is the 7th inning stretch?
Yeah.
Song. Okay. At Citi Field, "The Piano Man" is the anthem for the 8th inning.
Really?
Yeah, and we all sing "The Piano Man."
That's a long song.
Well, yeah, we don't sing the whole thing.
Oh, just sing us a song near the piano.
Yeah. And everybody sings "Sing Us a Song Tonight." Yeah. The whole stadium does it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Billy Joel played the final concert at Shea Stadium before they demolished it, of course. He's always been linked to sports. He's the only artist who's ever done Yankee Stadium, Shea Stadium, Giant Stadium, Madison Square Garden, and Nassau Coliseum. His banners are in the rafters of Times Union Center, the Coliseum in Nassau, MSG, of course, and some other places. I mean, there's nobody else.
He's legend.
He's legend, exactly. He's Mr. MSG. To the point that he's the only person who has a residency at MSG. Now, of course, the Knicks and the Rangers have their residency in sports, but as far as an artist, he's the only one.
He's still so incredible on the piano. I mean, his voice and his lyrics are something, but on the piano, he's amazing.
His piano skills are unbelievable.
Even now.
Yeah. It's amazing as somebody who played piano. I always play piano from sheet music. This guy does it off the top of his head, everything. The complicated songs that he plays off the top of his head just blows my mind. Let's see. He participated in 2 major benefits at MSG. The one for right after 9/11. It was called the Concert for New York City. And of course, 12-12-12, which was the hurricane relief from Sandy. So, and like I said, he's the first ever to do a franchise at MSG. This year, he's doing 6 shows. So he's still doing shows at MSG.
Yeah.
His catalog is so huge that Sirius devoted a channel to him. This year, it was only in January, so they're only going to do it periodically. But for the longest time, it was a Billy Joel channel. It was great.
The longest time is a great song.
There you go. I remember he was on Howard Stern. Howard asked him a really good question. What song do you wish you wrote? And he immediately said, "Whiter Shade of Pale" from Procol Harum. And then he played it.
Wow.
And I remember hearing that and I was like, man, oh man, listen to this guy play this. Now, if you ever hear the original, there's 2 originals from Procol Harum. One was the original, and then they did one with an orchestra. But it's heavy piano. And I'm telling you, this guy's just amazing. I've watched him in a ton of interviews, a ton of concerts. Like I said, he's one of my absolute favorite performers, my favorite songwriter. But if I had to use one word to describe him, it's charming. He is charming during his interviews. He's got that charisma thing going.
Yeah. Well, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
He's incredible to watch.
Yeah. He's got 6 shows lined up at MSG this year.
Yeah.
I think it's from April to September, once a month.
He's incredible. Yeah. He's incredible.
He really is.
All right, I'm going to do my favorite actor from the letter J.
Okay.
And it is John Travolta.
It has to
be, right?
It is. Of course it is.
Born February 18th in 1954 in Englewood, New Jersey, as
that's right, he was. Yes, he was.
The youngest of 6 children. So big family, big Italian-Irish family.
Right.
He's got 86 credits as an actor, so we're obviously not going to go through all of those.
No.
He studied voice, dancing, and acting in New York, and we all know he's got a reputation for being able to do all 3 very well. So
yeah.
Just highlighting a couple things we've talked about before. He got his big break with Welcome Back, Kotter, playing Woody Barbarino.
Right. That's where I remember him from. Absolutely.
1975, that was.
Yeah.
And then we talked before when I did Grease about how much I loved him doing Grease and all that stuff, and him doing Saturday Night Fever. So he did Saturday Night Fever to critical acclaim, and then Staying Alive to less acclaim. That one didn't do quite so well.
Hey, don't forget Carrie.
Yep, there was Carrie in there. Yep. That was a big movie. That movie gives me the creeps to this day, but still.
Urban Cowboy. He's done a lot of good movies.
Yeah, a lot. Urban Cowboy was a really good movie too. But like I said, I'm gonna skip because there are too many to go through. Then he had some commercial success with the Look Who's Talking franchise, right?
Yes.
The first one was cute, but then it got a little bit like
it was. Yeah.
But now I have to skip to Pulp Fiction.
I knew it. I was waiting for you to say that.
Pulp Fiction was Quentin Tarantino's gangster film that won Best Picture at the 1994 Cannes Film Festival and an Academy Award for Best Original Screenplay. John played Vincent Vega, the heroin shooting hitman and gangster partner of Samuel Jackson's Jules Winfield. So he totally transformed his image with this role and made a huge comeback in his career. This movie cost $8 million to make and went on to gross over $200 million at the box office. And it was a huge hit when it came out.
Totally different from what he used to do.
Exactly. And he was prepared to have this movie be kind of like an underground art film, like Reservoir Dogs was. But it blew up and it was on par with Forrest Gump. That also came out that year. Yeah, huge. The F word is used 265 times in this movie.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's very quotable, but I can't obviously do it on this show. This was one of the first movies to use the internet for advertising. That's how far back it goes.
Wow, 1994, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
So one of the big questions about this movie is, have you seen Pulp Fiction?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So the briefcase, what was in the briefcase that they were recovering from Marcellus Wallace, right? Well, in a radio interview with Howard Stern in 2003, Quentin Tarantino was asked by a caller what the contents of the briefcase were. And he said, it's whatever the viewer wants it to be.
I knew it. I knew that that's what he was going to say.
It's one of those things. Some people thought it was the diamonds that they got stashed in Reservoir Dogs. Some people thought it was his soul that got sucked out.
Oh, geez. Yeah.
There was all kinds of things. And really, they had absolutely no idea for what it was going to be. They just put a little glow in there.
Oh, okay.
And it was empty. It was just supposed to be.
I was going to say, did he actually make mention whether there was anything in there?
There was nothing in it. Just
it was
the glow.
Actually empty. Okay.
Yeah. Alrighty. In the movie, there's a scene between Vincent Vega and Jules Winfield when they're in a car and they're talking about his trip to Amsterdam and Paris and all this, because he comes back from that. And he says, you know what they call a quarter pounder with cheese in Paris? They call it a Royale with cheese because they don't have the metric system. And From Paris with Love, another John Travolta movie that was made quite a number of years later, he says he's got a brown bag and he says in it, this is the thing that's going to kill me. And he's eating a Royale with cheese. So it's a little nod to Pulp Fiction for that.
That's funny.
So Pulp Fiction was huge. It was a really big movie, but it also opened the door for him to have another success with Get Shorty in 1995.
Sure. I love that movie.
Me too. It's one of my favorite movies.
Yeah.
And interestingly, Elmore Leonard wrote the novel Get Shorty that was adapted into this movie, just like Justified. So there's a real kind of symmetry here that was a happy accident.
Sure. I'm a Gene Hackman fan.
Gene Hackman was great in this movie. So was Rene Russo, Danny DeVito.
DeVito. Yeah.
I really like Dennis Farina in this movie.
Yeah.
He was so fun.
He was one of my favorites.
Yeah. Delroy Lindo and James Gandolfini, who's really good friends with John Travolta.
How about that?
Yeah, this is one of my favorite movies, and Elmore Leonard said that they got this adaptation right, so it makes me feel good that he gave him the nod for this one too. This is another one of those super quotable movies, but I can't repeat here because there were a ton of F-bombs in this movie, just like Pulp Fiction. But I love it so much. I've owned it on VHS and on DVD, and that's how much. I mean, I bought it again just to have it because it's so much fun. I love it. And they also made a TV series out of it. Did you know that? On the Epix channel, they did a couple of seasons, like 27 episodes. I never watched it because I don't have Epix, but Ray Romano was in it.
No kidding.
Yeah. So if it ever comes around on another platform, I'm gonna have to check it out.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah. So he played a bad guy again in Broken Arrow with Christian Slater. And then he was a total sweetheart of a guy in Phenomenon.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a really good movie.
That was a sweet movie. Yep.
It was. Yeah. And then he plays a not so sweet, but very fun angel in Michael, which I've mentioned before because William Hurt was in that movie. William Hurt and Andy McDowell. And that's a nice little feel good comfort food movie. Mm-hmm. And then he played both a good guy and a bad guy in Face Off. 1997 with Nick Cage.
Yep.
And that was a lot of fun. I really liked it a lot. And I actually have that movie on VHS too.
Oh, do you really?
Yeah. In fact, I just saw a movie called The Adam Project with Ryan Reynolds. Did you see that?
No.
It just got released, and it takes place in the future, but in it they travel back to 2018, and he goes to visit his father, who's a college professor, and he's lecturing in his classroom. And there's a girl sitting in the front, and she's got a sweatshirt on, and it's got Nick Cage's face on it, and underneath it says John Travolta. So that's how invasive into the pop culture this movie was. Plus there's like a ton of memes and all kind of stuff for it, but Face Off was really good. Mm-hmm. And then he was also in The Punisher with Thomas Jane. That comes from a comic book, and I like that movie a lot. He played a baddie in it again.
He plays a good bad guy.
He does. We've talked before about the taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3.
Yes, exactly.
He does. He plays a good bad guy. And, he's a bad guy in Swordfish, too, with Hugh Jackman. And I think he likes that balance of doing both in his life because, as we said before, he likes to be able to stretch. And why wouldn't you?
Yeah. Was it him who made a mention about you have more freedom when you're okay? It was John Travolta. You have more freedom as a bad guy rather than a good guy. Okay.
Yeah, when we were talking about the taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3.
Right.
Lately he's been in a series called Die Hard with Kevin Hart, where Kevin's playing a version of himself that's trying to be an action star. And John Travolta's character is helping him out. I haven't seen it yet.
I haven't either, but I know it exists.
Yeah. In other news, he holds 11 jet licenses and is an ambassador for a few different aircraft companies. He flew the 707 to New Orleans after the 2005 hurricane disaster, bringing food and medical supplies. Awesome. And in 2010, he flew the 707, this time to Haiti after the earthquake, carrying supplies, doctors, and volunteers. He loves being a pilot. He's had some landings in some kind of dire circumstances. And he's handled them like a pro. I mean, he's a total pro, this guy. He's lost some very important people in his life too. His son Jet died in 2009 from a seizure.
Right.
And his wife Kelly just died in 2020 after a 2-year battle of cancer.
Right.
They were married in 1991, so they were together a long time. And he's also very active in the Jet Travolta Foundation, which is a charity that raises money for children with emotional challenges. But one of my favorite little tidbits about him is in 1985, when Princess Di came to the stage. She was in the White House,
I know
And
exactly.
she said the only thing she wanted was to dance with John Travolta.
Yep.
And they did. Yeah.
I know.
And he said that she was very sweet. And he felt like he was fulfilling a childhood dream for her. He felt like Prince Charming at that time. Yeah. Yeah. It was really sweet.
That's sweet.
So he was inducted into the 2011 New Jersey Hall of Fame for his contributions to the arts and entertainment.
Of course. He's a Jersey boy.
He's a Jersey boy. And he has. I mean, he's been in some pretty incredible things. I mean, 3 of his movies are in that National Registry Archive for their significance. And he's just done a ton of work, a ton of work.
Yeah.
He's always been one of my favorites. Yeah. And I just have a soft spot for the guy.
I got to tell you something. That was one of my favorite shows, was Welcome Back, Kotter. It was so funny at the time. It was so funny.
He was so goofy in it.
They were all goofy.
Yeah, they all
the guys were goofy.
And
Epstein,
yeah,
Shaq, they were all goofy. They were great.
It was like a wholesome goofiness.
Yeah.
You don't really find it that much anymore, but
no.
Going back and watching it, it was pretty funny. Just seeing him as a young kid before he really came into his face, it took him a while to come into his face. But once he did, oh my goodness, he's just always been one of my favorites all my life. I just have a soft spot for him.
He's good.
He is.
He's a good bad guy.
Yeah.
I like him better as a good guy. I'd rather see him as a good guy because that's kind of the way I remember him, I'll never forget Vinnie Barbarita. Never.
Right. Well, you remember him as a kid, so
yeah. Exactly.
I think Grease is my strongest memory of him, even though I love Pulp Fiction as many times as I've seen Pulp Fiction.
As far as movies concerned, I gotta agree with you. Grease is the word.
Grease is the word. Okay, you ready to do our J peeves?
A J peeve, yep. Let me hear yours.
Okay. Mine is Just for Men hair color.
Okay.
Yeah. How is it that Just for Men is only 5 minutes for complete gray coverage, when for women it's at least 30 minutes?
And then if you have hard gray,
well,
they say to add 10 more minutes, right?
Right. So complete gray coverage for men is 5 minutes. For women, it's like 30 to 40. Yeah. What's so special about it that it's only for men? And it says that it's developed specifically for men's hair. What the hell does that mean?
Do they have different hair than we have? Do they have different gray than we have?
I don't know. The reason that this is sparked is because Nicolaj Coster-Waldau, do you know who he is?
Not a clue.
He played Jaime Lannister on Game of Thrones.
Okay.
He was in that movie Gods of Egypt with Gerard Butler.
Okay.
He's doing a hair color commercial for L'Oreal, Men's Expert. And it's the same thing, 5 minutes. And
no kidding.
It's ammonia free.
Okay.
And it's designed for men's hair. And it says that it works on all levels of gray, hair types, and textures, right? So what is so very different about men's hair to women's that they can have a permanent hair color formula that covers their gray in 5 minutes,
and we have to wait
stuck,
holy moly,
for all this time?
And I just did mine too.
Yeah.
40 minutes. 40 minutes for me.
Yeah. Do they think that men won't spend 30 minutes coloring their hair, and so they developed a better formula for them? Or do they not even bother trying to develop a better women's formula because they can get away with it? They know we'll sit there for the 40 minutes.
I don't know.
What's the deal here?
I don't know.
Every time I see him in this commercial, I like him. I like him a lot, but I just want to shake him because it's like, how the hell did you get a 5-minute formula? Yeah. And we
same company, weeks, no less.
Yeah, every 5 weeks for us, right?
Right.
If we're lucky.
Yeah.
We have to spend at least 40 minutes.
Right.
To get the same coverage.
Yep.
What the hell?
I don't know.
It's not like it's more expensive. It's not. It's the same. It's ammonia free. It's the same thing.
because that was the first thing I was going to ask you, whether it had ammonia in it, because, but then you mentioned that it was ammonia free. What the hell else is in there that is doing that?
I mean, I use L'Oreal. Why can't I have a 5-minute formula?
So L'Oreal has 2 products, one for men for 5 minutes and one for women 30 to 40 minutes.
Right.
Same company.
Yeah. And some of the Just for Men is a 10-minute formula with no ammonia, no parabens, that kind of thing. So it's 5 or 10 minutes. So even if it's 10 minutes, it's still a far cry from 40 minutes.
A good question. It's a good question. What the hell? And what the hell?
And what the hell?
Yeah. And it can't be good to leave it on your head for 40 minutes.
I would imagine not.
No. No. So I'd be more than happy to have a 5 or 10 minute formula.
So would I.
Are you going to try it?
I think I might try it.
Good. Yeah, try it. You know where I thought you were going with that? There's some products like shavers. Mm-hmm. If you buy a man's shaver, the same product, it's like $1.
Yeah.
But if it's a woman's shaver, it's like $2. It's like, why is it $2? Because it's pink?
They call it the pink tax.
It's ridiculous. That's where I thought you were going with that.
Yeah. That's a whole
other peeve.
Yeah, that's a whole other piece of that.
Yeah.
That maybe will crop up.
Yeah, we'll put that in the bank. Put that in the bank.
Pee peeves. But this one is like the hair color thing, and it really bugs me.
Yeah.
So what's yours?
All right. Mine has to do with Jeep drivers, specifically the Jeep Wave.
Oh.
When you have a Jeep Wrangler and you pass somebody else with a Jeep Wrangler, you wave. There's a reason for that wave. The Jeeps were produced first in 1945 for World War II. And the small Jeeps were the CJ series. This all started with the soldiers when they passed each other. What they would do is they would wave. There was a couple of theories why they waved. That was to signify that they were carrying wounded, or to signify, let's say if I wave and the other person doesn't wave, this person's an enemy. But, that's all theories. Nonetheless, when these soldiers came home, they tended to get Jeeps. And so they carried the tradition once they got back to the States, and, they were driving around in their Jeeps and they would wave to each other, hey, fellow soldier, that sort of thing. So it's kind of carried over to the public. And now with the Wranglers, you wave. It's almost a patriotic kind of thing that you're acknowledging the soldiers. You're acknowledging our veterans. You pass somebody, hey, how you doing? I'm acknowledging you have a Jeep as well as I do. And it's not the Jeep Cherokee. It's specifically the Jeep Wrangler. So the other day I took my Jeep out. I have that cute little one.
Yeah.
And I've had Jeeps for a very long time. I had one back in the 90s too. But this one, took it out the other day. And I made a notice because the first one who I waved to didn't wave back to me. I was like, okay, that's one. Next one didn't wave back either. Out of the 9 Jeeps I passed that day, 2 people waved back. So I'm like, come on, people, get with the program. What do we have to put? Something in the owner's manual?
Maybe. When you buy one.
Yeah. Welcome to Jeep ownership. You need to wave to other Jeep owners. So anyway, so that's my peeve.
Oh,
the Jeep wave.
Please and nobody initiated?
No, I'm usually the initiator. It's something I'm conscious of because I've had Jeeps for such a long time.
Yeah.
I'm going to guess it's somebody who is like a newer Jeep owner rather than like an old timer like me, and it's just something that you just do. If you're in your Jeep, you watch out for other Jeeps. They pass you, you wave. Hello. USA, let's go. So anyway, J peeve.
Got it.
Okay.
So we changed up the order a little bit. What do you think about that?
Change is good.
It is. It's our 10th episode. It's a good time to do a little adjustment.
Yeah. Still doing a lot of research, boy.
Oh, I know it. So many topics. These are great topics, though. Yeah. It's hard to do them justice in this small time frame.
Absolutely. So you ready to wrap this episode up?
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to Major League Baseball that's starting this week. So I'll be watching the Mets and the Yankees.
Oh, that's fun for you.
So speaking of the Yankees, their announcer, Michael Kay, closes out his talk show with the lyric from Billy Joel. So I'm going to do the same.
Okay.
Life is a series of hellos and goodbyes. I'm afraid it's time for goodbye again. We appreciate you listening. With that, we're out of here.
Thank you very much. We'll see you next week.